Have you ever felt like you want more in life, but you're not sure where to start? You wake up, go to work or school, scroll on your phone, and go to sleep. Days pass. Weeks pass. And deep inside, a quiet question grows. Is this all there is? You see successful people online. They speak well. They have strong ideas. They make smart moves. And you wonder, how do they know so much? Here's a simple truth many people miss. They read. Reading is like talking with the smartest people in the world without needing to meet them. It gives you new words, new thoughts, new vision. Especially when you read in English, you get access to the biggest library of ideas on Earth. Most of the world's top books, science, business, and success stories are written in English first. You don't need to move to another country. You don't need to pay for expensive classes. If you can read, even just a little, you already hold the key. Reading doesn't just teach you English. It teaches you how the world works. It helps you speak more effectively, think more clearly, and grow more quickly. It can change the way you see your job, your money, your health, even yourself. In this episode of the Richness Journey podcast, we're not just talking about reading as a school habit. We're talking about reading as a life-changing practice. A simple, daily action that can build your future. This is not a theory. It's real. I've seen it. I've lived it. I'd like to share it with you. Let's dive in. Part 1. Reading builds knowledge, and knowledge builds confidence. When you think of someone confident, someone who walks into a room and speaks clearly, shares their ideas without fear, and answers questions with ease. What do you think gives them that power? It's not always talent. It's not always education. Very often it's knowledge. And the most powerful source of knowledge is not YouTube. It's not school. It's reading. Let me tell you a real story. A young man named Kevin was 22 years old, working as a part-time waiter. He didn't finish university. He didn't speak English well. He had no clear plan. One day, someone gave him a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It was in English, but it had simple words. He struggled at first, using Google Translate to understand. But he didn't stop. He finished that book in 2 weeks. Then he read another, and another. After a year, Kevin had read over 50 books. He was still a waiter, but now he could speak English much better, he understood money, and he could explain ideas with confidence. He started a small online business. Today, he teaches young people how to build online income. And it all started with one book. So why does reading create confidence? First, it gives you something to say. When you read a book, you collect ideas, facts, and strategies. You learn how things work: finance, psychology, communication, habits, health. When someone talks about these things, you don't feel lost. You have your own opinions, your own knowledge. Second, it helps you think better. Reading builds your brain like exercise builds your body. You start seeing connections. You remember stories. You speak in full sentences. That alone builds your confidence. Look at Elon Musk. Before he started building rockets with SpaceX, he didn't study aerospace engineering. He read books, a lot of books. One of his close friends said, Elon taught himself rocket science by reading. That's the power of reading. It can take you into any field. Reading also helps in real-life situations. In a job interview, someone asks, "What do you know about leadership?" If you've read Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, you'll have an answer. At a business meeting, someone mentions AI or the future of work. If you've read even one book or article on that topic, you can join the conversation. When you talk to someone successful, you won't feel small. You'll feel prepared, because you've met successful minds already, in books. Another great example is Oprah Winfrey. She grew up very poor with a difficult childhood, but she always says, "Books were my path to personal freedom." Oprah read constantly as a child and young adult. And today, she is not just a media icon, but one of the most respected voices in the world. Her success started with the quiet act of reading. Even if your English is not strong, even if reading is slow, it still works. In fact, reading slowly helps you understand more. You look at each word, each sentence, and over time, your brain grows faster, sharper, stronger. And here's a secret. Most confident people are not born that way. They build it. They build it through knowledge. And knowledge starts with a book. In the next part of this podcast, we'll look at how reading in English helps you master the language more naturally, without boring grammar books or pressure. Let's keep going on your richness journey. Part 2. Why reading English is a shortcut to mastering the language. Let's continue our journey. Now that you understand how reading builds knowledge and confidence, let's talk about something just as powerful: learning English through reading. You've probably heard it before. To learn English, you need grammar books, vocabulary lists, and speaking classes. And yes, those can help, but there's a faster, simpler, more natural way. It's something children use when they learn their first language. It's something our brains are built to do: learn through repetition and context. That's exactly what happens when you read in English. Let me tell you about Huy, a university student in Vietnam. He always struggled with English. He memorized grammar rules, passed exams, but couldn't speak fluently. Then one day, he picked up a novel in English, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It was difficult. He had to look up many words. But after a few chapters, something changed. He started to see common words and phrases appear again and again. He noticed how sentences were formed. He felt the flow of the language, the rhythm. It didn't feel like studying. It felt like discovering. This is how reading in English helps you learn the language. Without pressure, without stress. Through stories, ideas, and repetition, your brain begins to learn the natural way. Think about it. In books, you read the same verbs again and again. Get, go, make, take, do. And you meet real phrases that native speakers use every day. Make up your mind. Get through the day. Take it easy. You don't memorize them. You feel them in real conversations inside the story. You also learn grammar in a gentle, natural way. No boring rules. Just real examples. When you read a sentence like, "She had been waiting for hours," you may not know the grammar name, but you understand the meaning. You understand when and why it's used. And that's how children learn too. Not by memorizing grammar, but by listening and reading. As Huy continued reading, something wonderful happened. His English started to sound more natural. He didn't need to translate in his head. He started thinking in English. Writing emails became easier. Watching movies without subtitles became more fun. All because he kept reading. Reading gives you language with emotions. When you care about a character, you care about what they say. That makes words stay in your memory. Just like you remember quotes from your favorite movie, you remember lines from a good book. And when you're relaxed, you learn more. No one is testing you when you read. You go at your own pace. You enjoy the journey. That's when your brain opens up and grows. Books also give you access to real English, not just classroom sentences. You see how people really speak. "I'm out of here." That's a ripoff. Let's catch up soon. These are not in grammar books, but they are in novels and biographies. And they are the phrases that help you sound natural. So what should you read? Start small. Start with books that interest you. Try The Little Prince, Wonder, or motivational books like Atomic Habits. If you admire someone, read their biography. Choose stories that make you curious. Don't be afraid of unknown words. Use context. Highlight. Guess. Every page teaches you something. Use tools if you like, ebooks with dictionaries, audiobooks, apps. But most of all, be consistent. Even just 10 minutes a day will help. Reading a little every day is more powerful than studying grammar for hours. And when it feels hard, keep going. That's when your brain is doing its best work. Let's return to Hui. After a year of reading in English, he was no longer just a student. He became a learner, a thinker, a dreamer. English was no longer a subject in school. It was a door to a bigger world. In the next part of our podcast, we'll talk about how that world opens even wider when you read books by great minds. How books can connect you to mentors you've never met, and how their ideas can shape your thinking and change your future. Let's keep reading. Let's keep learning. Your richness journey continues. Part 3. How books become mentors and change your thinking. When you read a book, you are not just reading ink on paper. You are sitting quietly with someone else's mind. Their thoughts, their struggles, their dreams, now living in your hands. And here's the magic. Some of the world's greatest minds are ready to speak to you anytime you open their book. It could be Steve Jobs, Barack Obama, Maya Angelou, or even Marcus Aurelius from ancient Rome. Books are time machines, thought translators, and life mentors. Let's talk about Trung, a quiet young man from Da Nang. Trung worked in a small electronics shop. He was smart, but unsure about his future. He didn't come from a rich family, and he didn't speak English well. One day, while helping a customer, he noticed a small paperback left behind, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Curious, Trung picked it up. It was in English. At first, he wanted to throw it away, but something told him not to. He took the book home. Every night he read a few pages. Slowly, carefully. Some sentences confused him. Some words he had to Google. But the message was clear. You can learn to think differently about money, career, and life. Kiyosaki became Trung's mentor, not face-to-face, but through words. That book sparked something. Trung read more. Think and Grow Rich. The 4-Hour Workweek, Shoe Dog. He didn't just learn English. He learned how people like him turned their small beginnings into big lives. And this is the gift books offer. You don't need to be rich. You don't need permission. If you can read, you can learn from the best. You learn how they think, how they solve problems, how they deal with fear, failure, rejection. You see the patterns in their lives. They ask better questions. They keep learning, even when no one is watching. They see mistakes as teachers, not enemies. Books give you that mindset. Let's talk about someone famous, Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in poverty, faced abuse and racism, and had almost every reason to give up. But she didn't. One of her biggest secrets? Books. She once said, "Books were my pass to personal freedom." She read everything she could find. Biographies, history, philosophy. Books helped her imagine a better life. And later, books helped her lead millions to do the same. When you read, your world becomes bigger. You stop thinking only about your own street, your own problems. You start thinking like someone who builds solutions. That's why people who read often speak with more clarity, more vision. They've had conversations with minds much greater than their own. They've seen examples of courage, creativity, and success in all forms. Books also train your thinking. They slow your mind down. They make you reflect. In a world full of fast scrolling and quick likes, reading is one of the few habits that gives you deep focus. And that focus becomes power, in study, in work, in life. Remember Trung? After reading dozens of books in English, he didn't just improve his language. He started writing a blog, sharing lessons. Then came videos. Then came his small online shop. Now he teaches others how to learn English through entrepreneurship, and he credits his transformation to those early books. So what does this mean for you? It means your next mentor might not live in your city. Your next teacher might not be in a classroom. They might be waiting for you on page 27 of the book beside your bed. Reading opens you to new models of thinking. And once your thinking changes, your life starts to follow. That's why this journey matters. Not just because you'll speak better English, but because you'll think bigger, aim higher, and act wiser. In the next part of our podcast, we'll explore how reading also builds your emotional strength, how stories help you understand yourself and others, develop empathy, and become emotionally intelligent in a world that deeply needs it. Your journey continues. And your next teacher? They may already be on your bookshelf. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. This is your Richness journey, a new life through reading and English. So now we arrive at the end of this episode, but in many ways, this is where your real journey begins. We've talked about how reading expands your knowledge. We've shown how reading in English can naturally improve your language skills, through exposure, through rhythm, through repetition. And we've explored how books connect you to mentors, new ideas, and ways of thinking that can transform your life. But let's bring it all together. Why is reading, especially reading in English, so powerful? Because it is not just about language. It's not even just about learning. It's about unlocking a new version of you. Every time you open a book, you are saying, I want to grow. You're not just consuming content. You're training your brain. You're learning to listen better, to think more clearly, to imagine a different kind of life. Remember the story of Hui, who learned English through novels and felt his world get wider. Remember Trung, who found a forgotten book and discovered a new way of thinking about success. These are not magic stories. They are real, and they can be your story too. Because here's the truth. Books don't change your life. Reading them does. And reading them in English doubles the effect. It builds your language and your mindset at the same time. Think about this. When you scroll on your phone, the words disappear. But when you read a book, the words stay. They live in your memory. They shape how you speak, how you write, how you dream. When you read in English, you hear the way ideas are built. You absorb structure. You learn how to express yourself better, even in your own language. You notice confidence in the way people write. And slowly, it becomes your confidence too. It starts small. One page, one paragraph, one unknown word that you figure out from context. But over time, those little wins build a new habit, and that habit builds a new you. And there's something else. Reading is not just about success or knowledge. It's about empathy. When you read a novel and feel the pain of a character, when you understand the joy of someone from another culture, when you begin to care about people you've never met, that's when you grow, not just as a learner, but as a human being. We live in a noisy world. Fast content, fast opinions, fast judgment. But books slow us down. They invite us to reflect, to go deep, to see the world from more than one point of view. And in that space, we begin to transform. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know every word. But you do have to begin. Begin with one book, one story, one author who makes you feel something. Begin with 10 minutes a day. Begin with curiosity, not pressure. And let that be enough. Because that simple act, choosing to read, is also choosing to grow. So let me ask you this. What's stopping you? Is it fear? Is it the belief that your English isn't good enough? Then let me remind you, no one gets good by waiting. We get good by doing, by practicing, by showing up every day. Reading is showing up, even when the book is hard, even when the words are strange, even when your progress feels slow. Trust the process. 1 year from now, you will not be the same person if you keep reading. You will speak differently, think differently, live differently, and you'll look back and realize it all started with one choice. That's the power of reading. That's the power of English. That's the beginning of your richness journey. So here is your challenge. Choose your first or next book. Make time to read, even just 10 minutes a day. Highlight, reread, speak aloud, and reflect. And most importantly, don't stop. You don't have to finish every book, but never stop being a reader. Because readers are leaders. Because readers become thinkers. Because readers build the lives they imagine. Thank you for joining this podcast. If this episode inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to the Richness Journey channel. We're here to walk with you, to grow with you, and to help you build the life you deserve. One book, one word, one page at a time. Your journey has already started. Now let's see how far you can go. This is Richness Journey. Let's grow together.